Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hope you guys like that little weird countdown time. We're trying something different today. So,
Oh, Leland, I was just sitting. Good morning, everybody. This is Hank. Listen, I was just thinking, and I'm sorry. Let me let you do the introduction, and then I'll go back to what I was
no,
thinking.
you're fine. Let's
No,
let's
no,
jump right
no,
into it.
no. Please
Okay.
go ahead.
So here's the deal, real quick, just so everyone. My name is Leland Baptist. I have my amazing co-host with me, Hank Hunt. How are you doing, Hank?
I'm joy filled, man. Yeah, I mean, you can. My cheeks hurt. That, hell, it's noon. There's nowhere in the world someone could be as joy filled as I am.
Well, you know what? We're one of the things we're really excited about is to help you guys, those who are listening, those who want to learn, and maybe even you know what, Hank, is what's crazy is what
Hmm.
if there
What
are
if?
people
Hmm.
living in the world, and
Hmm.
what if they never actually have a meaningful or even listen to a meaningful positive
Wow.
dialogue
Wow.
at all this week?
Wow.
And if one person, just one person, was able just to listen in on the insights that you and I share, and that could actually allow them to have a better day, a better hour, a better week, a better work day, a better time to be a parent, whatever that might be. And we have the opportunity to actually just allow one person to listen and have a positive impact on that one person.
That's interesting because I can remember years ago going to a conference, and the speaker was on, and he was telling the story about walking the beach, and there were some starfish that had washed up on the beach, and he reached down and he threw a starfish into the water. And he walked a little bit further. He just reached and grabbed a starfish, and somebody was on sitting on the beach and said, "Hey, man, what are you doing?" He said, "I'm just throwing starfish back in the water." And he says, "It won't make a difference. Look at them. There's too many of them." And he said, "It made a difference to every one I throw back in the water."
Mm.
So
Hank,
that's what. Yes, sir.
have you ever watched the movie called The Butterfly Effect?
No, I've heard of it, but I haven't watched it.
Okay.
Um, but why do you bring that up? You got me thinking. Now you're gonna make me go.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do some research. I'm gonna kill another tree.
So there is a movie called The Butterfly Effect. I think the star in that movie was a guy named Ashton Kutcher. I'm sure
Oh,
everyone
okay.
knows about him. However, the movie, I believe, is based off of an article or a book by a scientist who would say that the butterfly effect is saying that um, a butterfly's a butterfly choosing to flap its wings has just as much impact in the world later on to create a tsunami.
Wow, that's deep.
And and
Let's. Mhm.
it is deep
It's.
because
I mean, that's deep.
it is deep. It's deep not just because of like the metaphor or the
Hmm.
what it's deep also because of the science behind it, that you know that little wind that a butterfly would have caused in Japan, part of that wind has compounded and caused a tsunami in Indonesia, for example.
What? That's interesting that you said about the butterfly because I would, my mind raced to the example of the cocoon,
Mhm.
and we walk by and we see this thing trying to get out of the cocoon. And the worst thing that we can do is take a little penknife and make a little incision in the cocoon to let the butterfly out of the cocoon. And if we do that, the struggle of getting out of the cocoon is what gives that butterfly the ability to fly. And if we cut the cocoon, then we make it a butter walker.
Okay, there you go.
Okay. So,
That
and I say that
Mhm.
because sometimes we just spoon feed people, and they don't want to struggle for the things that are most important to them, and that's life and vitality.
That's right. let's take it a step further because I'm happy you brought that up. So I know today we're talking about what the economy feels like today.
Oh, my Lord.
There is a quote by Tony Robbins, and I'll quickly. Um, there was a quote by Tony Robbins, and actually, as I'm looking it up, I see that it was actually it's based off of a book by Michael Hoff. Um, but Tony Robbins says hard times create strong men.
Mm,
Strong men create good times. Good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times.
wow. That's a cycle of life, isn't it?
It's a cycle of life. But it also
Wow.
states that in order in this at least in this theory or this cycle, what
Mm-hmm.
it's stating is that in order for someone to be quote unquote strong,
Mm-hmm.
in many cases the struggle is necessary for that individual to become strong. Much like as you said,
Mm-hmm.
the caterpillar who is fighting after it has metamorphed to break that cocoon to become a butterfly, it
Mm-hmm.
needs the fights of that cocoon in order to prepare it for the conditions outside of the cocoon to be a butterfly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, Hank, as you would agree, we have an opportunity. You and I are given an amazing opportunity to coach and mentor um, tons of adults
Right. And college students,
and college students,
high schoolers, even. Yeah.
high schoolers, professionals, Gen Z, Gen X, Gen baby
Baby
boomers.
boomers.
You know,
Boom. Come on now. Don't cut me short,
no,
boomers.
no, no, no. I'm saying, we have
Boomers.
the we have the blessed opportunity to mentor and coach
Mm-hmm.
people from all generations.
And it's the interesting thing about it, it's those who choose to listen, learn, and follow. Now,
Listen, learn,
you
and
notice I say listen because we find a whole bunch of folk who are willing to listen.
follow.
And
so
of
we
that,
so
and to
we
go back to
think
the Pareto principle, right?
that's right.
But then less are willing to learn, and even less are willing to follow.
Mm.
And I think a lot of those conditions are those conditions that we learned along the path of the struggle through ineptness, lack of knowledge, stupidity, parental influence, uh, chastisement by friends, all of those things that cause us not to be our best self and or to rise above circumstances.
Rise above. Okay, awesome. So let's tie that in real quick. So we're talking about hard times,
Yes, sir.
talking about circumstances,
Yes, sir.
talking about the ability to learn, follow, and choose to do.
Mhm.
How does that tie into our topic today, which is what the economy feels like today?
You know, can I digress to 2 years in answering that
Absolutely.
question?
Absolutely.
We've all the world has what was presented a horrendous pandemic. No matter how life was, good, bad, or indifferent, the pandemic changed everything for everybody. And governments, leaders were
Hmm.
trying to constantly create environments for us to be safe. Some made wise decisions and some not so wise. And we continued to adjust. We were that moth trying to adjust. We were that pinata being banged. We were that pinball machine. Um, Businesses were closing down. People were losing jobs, and the government started to provide some sense of relief with moratoriums on people being evicted, or moratoriums on people losing their homes, or providing stimulus money, just continually doing things to try to keep not just the economy afloat, but the country afloat. Then at some point we started to have more money near the end of the pandemic. We still in some aspects of it, but had to have more money, better quality of life. And then with that came logistics problems. With that came higher inflation. With that came higher interest rates. With that is coming businesses closing down again. With that came the war in the Middle East. With that came some economic problems in China and in other countries. I say all of that to say we have been bouncing as individuals, bouncing back and forth, trying to find our way in the fog.
Yeah.
And some people had a belief system, a trust system, a determination, a goal, a plan, a strategy to deal with all of that. Some executed, and some sat back and just sort of kind of wait for Big Brother. Hates Big Brother, but wants Big Brother to save them from this and save them from that, when they have the opportunity to fend for themselves, which we give them all the time. We're constantly giving them a solution, not the solution. And Leland, I think most people are looking for the solution. And you know what the solution is that I learned some time ago from a guy in South Africa? He said, every now and so often, you got to be willing to get off your can to survive. And, and I'm not talking about, you understand the can I'm talking about, right?
I can.
Okay. Hey, this is us. Get off your ass. Stop blaming other people and take a chance. Take some risk. You take risk by getting out of bed in the morning.
That's true.
Okay. So just take some risk, but they need to be calculated. They need to be calculated.
Hank, I would almost say that in some cases, where people do want to quote unquote take calculated risk, I would say in some cases, in some cases I would say, why even worry about a calculated risk? And hear me out with this. Here's what I'm saying, ladies and gentlemen, those who are tripping, they're about to blow their pants.
Yeah.
Oh, he said just take risk. And there are, in some cases, people are all right. Hear me out. I could tell John to take a calculated risk, and unfortunately, John may not even know how to calculate.
I'm sorry.
It's not funny. Is that John never takes a risk, and so he begins to live a life in which he consistently always wants to find a excuse and a reason for something not going the way that he wants,
and blames the world.
And blames the world. Okay. There are people out here. There are people who will look at the sky and they will blame their shoelaces because they tripped.
When they should have tied them, or use Velcro.
They left the
house. Leland. Now, again, we're talking about the economy. there is nothing, no, there's little that you and I can do individually about the economy, the global economy of the US economy. But you and I have major impact on our own personal economy.
Personal economy. And that's the thing that I want people to understand.
Ah,
We as a society, we are at a standstill to where even with what's going on at the polls, if you're like, I'm, I, I am not here to deter anyone from voting. I encourage everyone to vote because either whether you vote or don't vote, you still vote.
hello.
So you just voted to not vote, but that was your vote.
That's it.
Okay, so
So stop complaining.
stop complaining. But we are past the point of believing and thinking that one party,
Mm, mm.
one politician, and one leader is truly going to be in all of the best interest of all people. That is not true.
You just said something there, sir. Can I interject? Because
Please.
it goes back to something we were talking about before we went on air. 5 years ago, to run for president of the United States, there were two main tickets that you needed to punch to even consider running for the president of the United States. One was you had to be a Christian. You had to be a church going Christian. And I remember Mitch when Romney was talking, and because people were bashing him because he was Mormon, and he said, "But I'm also Christian." So people started, ooh, and said, "Okay, fine." And they bashed Obama because they felt that he was going to a radical church in Chicago. But he's okay, all right, that's fine. And then the other thing was you had to be, how do I say this? There could be no apparent moral or ethical um, skeletons in your closet. Meaning that you had to be married to the same woman with no offshoots,
Hmm.
not divorced, still married to the same. Now, and there were people who bet their life, staked their lives on those two characteristics or qualities.
Hmm.
And then they folded on top of that the Constitution. I can honestly tell you that over the last couple years, I have not heard anything about constitutions or constitutionality of someone running. I haven't heard anything as to whether or not how many wives or ex-wives you could have. I haven't heard anything about whether or not you're a Christian. So we have morphed from some very, very strong social values to a country that is no longer practicing the values of 10 years ago. Now, does that mean that it's right, wrong, or indifferent? I don't know. But as for me and my house, I'm going to follow the Lord.
Hmm.
And we came up with certain rules of engagement, certain principles, certain characteristics, certain values that hold us steadfast today. So, for the people that are listening to me, I'm just asking you, when you see something that goes counterintuitive to the way you were raised and your beliefs, how do you feel? And if it causes anything emotionally within you, do you question it? Do you question what it is, or do you put on blindfolds? Do you hold your breath and you pull a lever anyway, only because the person meets one of your multitude of criteria? Not all of them, just one of some of them. And you say, well, what does that have to do with the economy? Well, whomever you put in charge, the leaders that we put in charge are the ones who help to influence the economy nationally and in our households. So there's nothing we can do about inflation, but make more money in your own household. There's nothing that you can do about the environment, but be environmentally conscious in your own household to the degree that you can. be it the air, be it the water, be it what have you. There's nothing we can do about war or crime except for what's perpetrated in our own house, our own beliefs. I believe in the Second Amendment, but I got one gun. There are people with 15 guns. How many guns do you need to protect your household? So I'm saying that somewhere along the line, Leland, personal opinion, someone has lost their way as to what is truly right and wrong from an economic perspective. Because I heard someone say the other day, um, it was doing Charlottesville. I'm a Virginia guy, so trust me, I grew up when I couldn't drink out the same water fountain as other folk. All right, I'm just being real. And I watched that and I'm going like, whoo, this is deep. This is some crazy stuff. And it was crazier that day than it was in the 60s when I was in high school.
You said it was crazier that day.
It was crazier that day in Charlottesville 5 years ago, 4 years ago, than it was when I was marching the streets of Farmville, Virginia in 1962. Because in 1962, nobody got killed. In 1962, people were in the streets, but they weren't beating up on anybody and threatening to kill anybody. They were surprised that we had the courage to show up in town. Who the hell were we? Okay. What has changed? What 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 gives some people the right to think, because this is about the economy, that they have dominion over somebody else? Okay. Now I know I've thrown a lot of stuff at folk. I'm not a radical person. I try to be relatable rather than radical. So my question to you is, to those of you who are listening, is what does injustice feel like, smell like, taste like, look like? And are you the abused or the abuser? Are you the perpetrator or the victim? Because we can all think a lot of stuff, but when you start to act on your thoughts, are you the same person? That was deep. I hope somebody they'll get that later on down the road. So getting back to the economy. The government that we rely on is going to do whatever it can to keep inflation under control. It's going to do whatever it can to keep the supply lines open. It's going to do what it can that everybody has a semblance of economic standard and viability. But at the local level, we got to make certain that the right people, and I don't know what that means. I slap myself because I don't know what the right people are anymore. Because to me, people have lost their way, their sense of responsibility, their sense of purpose, their sense of fair play, their sense of ethics, their sense of integrity, their sense of moral justice and ethical practicality. I'm I'm surprised. No, surprised. No, that's a bad. I'm disappointed that we've got people who have lost their way and they have convinced a lot of other people to follow them.
I want to I want to specifically touch on the economy and especially even with laws and say this. The way that laws work, laws are a reflection of society. Having a law does not necessarily mean that something is right or wrong.
Hmm.
Having a law is a reflection of a society.
And a moment in time.
and also yeah, and also a reflection of a society at a moment in time. So there are laws in place in certain countries where you are delegated in which you can or cannot how you can and cannot contribute to your local economy. We have no such law specifically in this current economy of the United States. Okay. Now, 30 years from now, I don't know. That might be the case, but in the United States, as of right now, we have no such law. So what that means is everyone who can hear my voice, everyone who has access to freedom of choice, you have the opportunity to, if you so choose, to earn and learn different ways as long as it's legal. So if you know that for your personal economy you need to do something different, you have the ability to learn something different. If you want to earn more money for your family, for your personal economy, your household economics, you have the ability and you have the right to do such. And what I would urge people is the same laws that we're hoping will solve a problem oftentimes will become something that will create a problem.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. True
So
that.
if you're asking, because and often, and let's call it what it is. During the pandemic, there were many people that reached out to their local representatives, their congressmen, their senators, wrote letters to the president, all those things, requesting aid, requesting help, requesting funds. Retrospect, we have people now who are upset that aid, funds, and everything else were given. So what does that mean? That means that the way that laws work is that for some it helps, and for others it does not. For
Mm-hmm.
some it gives benefits, and for others it does not give benefit. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna be a little more specific onto why people are upset. People are not upset because they feel as though people are being pacified. What people are truly upset about is that it impacts their bottom line. And allow me to explain.
Please, yeah, because I wasn't expecting that piece.
One of the one of the things that that very wealthy individuals do is that they have the ability to buy debt. They invest in debt.
Mm-hmm.
Fancy word for debt is called bonds, bonds, bonds. And so, as a wealthy individual, you can choose to invest in the debt or the bonds of governments. And depending on how well a government is doing, or chooses, or continues to do, that will dictate how lucrative the interest rates are given on your investment. So, just as an example, I could buy debt in Japan of the Japanese government for Japan, and as long as their economy is strong, I'm going to get a larger yield, a larger return on my investment. I can likewise buy debt in the United States, and if the United States economy is not doing so hot, I would get less of a yield. I could I could invest or buy student loans, hence what many countries do. I don't know if people are aware of that or not. The reason that there's such a huge fight about the student loan or the student debt crisis, quote unquote, it has nothing to do with whether or not they believe people should be helped. It has everything to do with their bottom line. Why? Because the government sells the student loan debt to other countries and to other family offices. If you are to forgive the debt, that means that the person who actually invested or bought that debt initially, that they themselves will get a smaller return on investment.
Wow.
So it
Yep.
has nothing to do. It has none of that. All that everything else people are talking about, blah blah. That is smoke and mirrors. It has nothing to do. That is not the truth. That would be like that would be the equivalent of my children wanting to have dessert for breakfast and me giving the argument that, hey, you can't have dessert for breakfast because it's too cold outside. It has nothing to do with the real factor. The real factor is that they need nutrition, right?
Hmm.
That is basically what people are arguing about. And the way this ties into the economy is this: in all these laws, it is people looking out for really their personal economy. And all I want people to understand is that you should also look out for your personal economy.
Leland, you know, again, if you are a multi-billionaire, yeah, say you have 60 some $1 billion and you lost $1 billion, what do they call you tomorrow? No,
Well off.
that's right. For most of us, our savings account may not be 5,000 or 10,000. So if we were to lose $100 or $1,000, it would hurt a lot. So what I'm getting at is there are ways, and we teach a way that you can improve your own personal economy. You just have to be willing to listen, learn, and do. Now, most people listen, less learn, and less do. But the point is, opportunity is there, and that's all we're looking for is opportunity. And when you don't want to do something, when you want to blame somebody else, then any excuse will do. Any
Any
excuse
excuse will
will
do
do.
for
So
you.
if you so if you're not exercising one of your constitutional rights, because you're right, all laws, there are unintended consequences of every law that's passed. Okay? Not everybody's going to be happy. But there's one law that you have, and that is the law to make a difference.
Absolutely.
And if you're willing to make a difference in your particular circumstances, because as I was saying, that there are people who work 40 to 45 hours a week or more, earning 50, 60, 70, $100,000 a year. They've been earning that for the last 10. They will not earn anymore. Okay. Ends are no longer meeting, but they are afraid. They are afraid to take a chance on themselves, stay in the job while they take some of their precious spare time to work on their personal economy.
I, it pains. One of the things that pains me is when I hear people say that they're afraid to take a chance, and it pains me because what that person doesn't realize is that they're already taking a chance.
Every day, if they got a job, you're right.
Even if you don't have a job, let's just say that let's say you're a business owner.
Mhm.
You're taking a chance every day. So to say that you're afraid to take it, it's almost like voting, to
Mhm.
say that, oh, I'm not voting. I don't participate in those shenanigans.
It ain't gonna make a difference.
It won't make a difference.
Mhm. Mhm.
By you choosing not to vote, you did just vote.
I'm sorry. It's not funny. It's not
It's,
funny. I mean,
it's
it's like
not. Yeah,
it's
it's not funny. It's kind of
it's it's sad,
it's
really,
sad. It's really sad.
because Leland, I'm sorry, my parents could not vote
Could not vote.
until the sixth grade.
And hey, here's the thing. That was within the law.
I know, could not vote.
So therefore, that was a reflection of society.
Okay. But it was that was right. But that was you're right. It was the law. So my parents instilled in me vote. And when I was overseas, I did absentee ballot, vote. And people tell me, vote. Put it in the mailbox, and I hope like hell it gets to where it needs to be. But at least I can say with confidence, I did what, Leland?
You vote.
I voted.
You participated in the
Mm-hmm.
overall cycle, and I'll call it economy
Mm-hmm.
of that area. And but here's the thing, because we just want to tie it back in.
Mm-hmm.
What we're asking people to do is to no longer be a bystander in their own economy. I
Mm-hmm.
understand that right now the economy does not feel beneficial. I understand that right now the economy may not even feel good. But as Hank and I mentioned last week, now what? So what? So now that yes, that is true.
That's
So
right.
what?
Now, so
What?
what? That's so what?
What?
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
Get off
Because
your can.
you got to, you have to, you got to get off. You have to choose. You have to choose to move forward. If God continues to put breath in your body,
Mm-hmm.
you need to continue to move forward. Whether you have children, whether you have hell, if you don't have children, maybe, just maybe you have someone that looks up to you, or maybe someone that even knows who you are, and
Mm-hmm.
that you could be of some type of inspiration to that person. Let me say this real quick for those who are still kind of wondering, like, well, what should I do? First off, you need to figure out what is it that you want.
Oh my Lord.
If you can figure out what is it that you want to follow just these three things. It's be, do, have. Be, do, have. I'm gonna give you guys an example of this really quick. I know we're running a long time. Give you guys an example of this really quick in a quote unquote worldly example. So there's a book called Seven Habits of Highly Successful People, written
Covey.
by Stephen Covey. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Part of it, segments in that book, he talks about be, do, have, which is simply saying, if when you have a desired goal and excuse me, not even choose, you make the decision.
Decision. There you go. There you go. It's a decision.
Decisions different. You make a
That's it.
decision that you want to be successful. The
Mm-hmm.
next three questions that you need to ask yourself is, who do I need to be to accomplish this goal? What does that person have to do in
Mm.
action to accomplish that goal?
Preach, my brother.
And in order to get or have those results or outcomes. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not you do the thing and then you have it. You first have to be, in other words, believe
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
which you say, do, as in speak or take action. And because you do and speak, you must first believe that you have, and that allows you to take action. That's literally a Bible verse.
Le-
That is
Leland.
literally a Bible verse.
Le-
However, for those who don't believe in the Bible, you can read that book by Stephen Covey. Okay.
Leland, I'm sorry. I know we're short of time. Some years ago, I was working in corporate America, and there was some challenges going on. I resigned from corporate America to take care of the kids, and people thought I was out of my mind. But God said to me, resign, and your dreams will be fulfilled. I say that to say some of us are afraid to take that drastic a step. I'm not saying resign. I'm saying you need to be bold and bodacious. 1 hour a week, 1 hour a week will create the pathway to you being financially free. One hour a week. Actually, if you could do 1 hour a day, that's fine. But you're going to have to stop some stuff. So we threw away TV. We canceled subscriptions. We did a lot of dramatic stuff to get our house in order. What are you willing to do today that will allow you to live tomorrow the way you want to live. And if you don't have a plan, come talk to us.
Absolutely. Um, mm, 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 mm. It's be, do, have, and whatever it is that you guys want to have. Who do you need to be, and
Mhm.
then take the actions as if you are already that
Already there. That's
person.
it.
Okay, as if you are already that person. Please understand something. Whomever you are, and think of it as, I think Shakespeare said it. He said life is a play, right?
Hmm.
The cool thing about the play in life is that you get to choose what character you want to be
Mm, mm, mm.
based on your actions, right? Based on who you choose to be and what you choose to do. Therefore, that's what you are or have. So we all get to choose. So if you want to be, if your choice is to be someone that is a matriarch of wealth for your family, what is the thing that is for that family? Something that someone could do, very inexpensive, is they could then maybe write out a few things that they want to give to those loved ones. It could be books, could be knowledge,
Hmm.
could be wisdom, could be accounts, could be furniture, could be deeds, could be vehicles, could be a phone, could be a computer. But you can write those things out. If you're someone that wants to be a deal maker when it comes to real estate, what type of goals do you have? Do you have goals to purchase a property every quarter? Is it once a year? Is it to have a certain credit score? What does that credit score look like? Someone who has a credit score, how do they behave based on how you're currently behaving? Is there
Mm.
is there any difference there? Um, is it someone that focuses on building assets? If so, do they use a trust? Do they use a will? Do they use an LLC? Do they not use any of those things? Is it someone that do they have connections with a real estate attorney? Do they have connections with a IP attorney? You can make connections without having to spend money.
Whew.
You could send an email to someone. You can make a phone call to someone. It won't cost you any money. It'll cost you time because that's one of the greatest resources you have is your
Mm,
time.
mm, mm.
These are things that
Allocate.
these
Yeah,
are things
allocate it wisely.
allocated wisely
Yeah. Oh
because once
man,
it's gone,
it's gone.
we can't get it back.
It's
So
gone.
in that case, Hank, every one of us is wealthy
Beyond imagination.
beyond imagination. We've been blessed to have this day. And at some point, we all will look back and say, "What did I do?"
Leland, I need to say something. People, we do not have the answer. We have an answer. And if you don't have an answer, come talk to us. If you have the answer, will you share it with us?
Absolutely.
Like, hey,
Let me
share it with us.
let me
Because
let
when
me
you
read your book.
because then you have to be if you got the answer, be careful again of who you associate with, because in the bat of an eye, it can be taken away from you.
Yeah.
Okay? It can be taken. There are a lot of people at Twitter lost their jobs last week, and more will continue to lose their jobs. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. That's it,
All
guys.
right. God
Thank you.
bless.